Okay, this is my recipe for the coconut and nut energy bar. This is a great source of food to take on long runs and or long bike rides or hikes. It's low carb, it's paleo, and it's got some great fats in there, and a good source of protein. It's pretty quick to make, no cooking involved. Take about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so the ingredients you need are some creamed coconut, about 30 or 40 grams, some coconut oil or coconut butter, that's pretty much the same thing, you want about 20 grams of that, some nuts and seeds, about 100 grams, a variety is really up to you, and the first thing you do is to put the nuts and seeds in a food blender. Now, you may want to soak them or roast them first. Apparently that reduces the levels of phytic acid. I certainly find it's better on my stomach if I do that. If I eat too many raw nuts, it can give me slightly uncomfortable stomach. So if you want to do that first, that's fine. But otherwise, put them in the food processor and blend them to a reasonably fine powder. And then you can put that to one side for a moment. Because the next thing you're going to do is take the coconut oil or the coconut butter and melt it in a pan. If you live in a warm climate and don't keep your coconut oil in the fridge, then it's probably already a liquid. But either way, you need to end up with the liquid form of that coconut oil in the pan, at which point you can add the creamed coconut. This will almost certainly be a solid regardless of where you're keeping it and the temperature, but it may be softer if you're in a warm climate. Either way, this needs to be heated until it becomes a liquid too. You may find it easier to grate or chop that up before you put it in the pan, but the heat of the pan anyway will slowly will slowly melt the creamed coconut, and you'll get a sort of milky, slightly grainy, milky liquid, which eventually will be entirely melted. And the next step is to take your ground nuts and seeds, put them in, mix it around a bit, and you'll end up with a mixture which you just need to leave to cool for a little bit. And when it's cool enough to handle, you need to get some foil, and what we're going to do is tightly pack that mixture into the foil. You'll notice that at this point the mixture feels fairly loose, and you're probably wondering how it's going to bind together. The thing about the sort of energy bars you get from health food stores or sports stores is that they are usually bound together with some kind of syrup, but of course we don't want syrup in our energy bar. We're looking for a low carb paleo source of energy and of food. But the good news is that creamed coconut and the coconut butter, when it sets hard, is actually a great binding agent. So we're going to pack it tightly so that when it does cool, that is effective. So put it onto the foil, and then you roll the foil around the mixture and just pull it tight towards you. And then as you roll that, you can pull it tighter and tighter, and it'll end up pretty well packed. You then take something like a cooking utensil, and you can press it in at each end so that it's tightly packed at the ends as well. Fold the foil over at each end, and there's your bar ready to go into the fridge, which it will spend, I guess, overnight or a few hours, and by the time it's finished in there, you'll have a pretty solid bar. Now it's still going to be a bit more crumbly than the kind of thing you'd buy from a health food store, but it will nevertheless stay together quite well. The only thing I would caution about is it depends on the climate that you're going to be taking this out in. Coconut oil does have a melting point of about 25 degrees. If you are going to be out in very warm conditions, I would recommend that you use primarily or entirely the creamed coconut, because actually that is slightly stickier and will stay solid in most warm conditions, and actually it tastes slightly sweeter. So that's something you can do if you're worried about this not staying together. Well, thanks very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy it.